Morning. I'd like to welcome you all to our Tuesday 1:30 p.m. session with Hannah, once again, titled Magical Memory. So thank you so much for hosting, Hannah, and please introduce yourself and your topic. And I can't wait to learn a lot with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you want me to go ahead and just introduce and get started?
Sure, yes, your topic and introducing yourself, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Hannah. Think I've seen most everyone here before, but if I'm missing anybody who's new,
We
happy to
do we
have
do
you
have some
join
new
us as
folks.
well.
Yeah, we do have
Okay,
some new
yeah,
folks.
wonderful. Well, great to see new and old friends alike. And yeah, I'm I guess fourth year medical student at this point at George Washington, and going to be doing another one of our humanities sessions today, as Alex mentioned, focused on Cinco de Mayo and just kind of broadly inspired by some Latin American art and literature in general, with kind of a focus on some of those pieces that specifically really focus in on like memory and have a lot of elements of magical realism and all kinds of other fun things. Hope we'll have some great discussion as we always do.
Yes, keep our mics in mind, but we'd love to hear from everyone on the call. So please share. Just keeps our microphones in mind.
Did you want me to just go ahead and share, or I don't know if you
Yep,
needed to do
Hannah,
any
the
of the
floor is
disclaimers or
yours.
anything else? Okay, perfect. All right, let's see. Just a sec. Okay, get my head up in the right spot.
Again, slow.
Let's see. Here we go.
Wonderful.
Great.
I love it. So beautiful.
Thank you. Inspired by our theme as well. So, kind of already gave a bit of an introduction, but really, like I said, the focus for today and um, my thought process behind this session was just this celebration of Cinco de Mayo. So happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. We were saying that earlier, but and then looking at these Latin American works of art and literature, which again really focus on magical realism and the power of memory, and how it helps to shape our experience in different ways. Hopefully, some of you all might be familiar with some of the works that we're going to be looking at. So, as we typically do, I'd like to get everybody talking in the beginning and hear everyone's thoughts and perspectives. So, we have a couple of questions that people can comment on here, uh, being you can either talk about how you celebrate your culture, whatever that might be, uh, or any experience that you have in like travel or appreciation or participation in Mexican or Latin American culture. Would love to hear some stories and some thoughts on either or both of those questions from whoever would like to start us off and share.
Yep, you can unmute yourself and share. Take a second to think. How do you celebrate your culture? I love that question. Any thoughts?
Kevin, and one way I celebrate is just by thanking God that I'm alive and I'm still here and I can still able to do certain things and get around and take care of myself, cook, stuff like that. So that's how I do it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's definitely a cause for celebration.
Well, I think I celebrate my culture during the holidays, during Christmas, getting together with family, Thanksgiving, getting together with family and eating, sharing memories with each other, telling jokes. And but the main thing is the food. and the people who come. That's how I celebrate culture.
Yeah, definitely. Can you give us an example of like your favorite food or a couple of things you all typically have?
Well, for Thanksgiving, we typically have turkey, we have dressing, we eat cornbread dressing. I make my dressing. I mix the cornbread stuffing mix with the herbs, and I mix the two together and make dressing and have gravy. Make giblet gravy with the giblets and macaroni and cheese, greens. I like turnip greens, and I like mustard greens, and and then we have sweet potato pie and other things. We make a gelatin mold with jello and cream and fruits in it, and it's really good. So we celebrate like that, and we play games and just get together as a family and some friends that come over too.
Sounds lovely. I'm coming over next time. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Other thoughts on how you celebrate your culture?
Well, I'm Bessie Hill and I celebrate. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. I celebrate growing vegetables and plants. Not only do I grow them, every March for over 40 years, I would be the leader to pick the collard greens and cut them up. And my two older sisters would cook them. I would buy a gift, an inexpensive gift for each member of the family. And we would go out in the woods and go down dirt roads that we used to go down when we were kids. Now I'm the youngest, 80 years old. And my sisters, one is 5 years older and the others are 3 years apart. So it was just a wonderful time buying hats. They were inexpensive, may not have been no more than $2 a piece, but we all had on hats alike or we had on T-shirts alike. And I just tried to make a difference in the world.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have any thoughts on how they celebrate their culture?
I don't. I had the privilege on a trip to be with not just Mexican and Latin individuals, but some of the other Spanish cultures. And it's interesting how, though they may have the same language, it's a different culture. It's a different culture on our way. We were on to Spain. And so we were all brothers and sisters of the same faith, but there's a difference there. They were all loving and all that. But I thought that was interesting because before that, I thought if you spoke Spanish, that was it. But I see it's not. It's not, and it's a good change. It's good variety there.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing your travel stories. Anyone else have anything to add in terms of celebrating your culture, or as we heard about, maybe some travel stories or some appreciations of other cultures?
Well, my name is Dolores Freeman. I thank God that I'm in my right mind and that I just celebrated my 86th birthday on the 9th of April this year.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
happy
Happy
birthday.
Thank you.
birthday.
I don't want to take
What is
over, but I just celebrated my 80th birthday Sunday.
Oh my goodness. Happy
Okay.
birthday. Got
Yes,
birthdays all around.
Yes.
and about 10 of my friends church with me, and they took me out to Golden Corral for lunch. And I
Oh,
was hurt. My son, I have one son, he would not participate. So you have to go on in life and make the best of everything.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you were able to celebrate with some of those around you, it sounds like, and have a good meal. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else with anything to share to open us up? Celebrating your culture, travel experiences, anything else?
Well, I'm going to say something else. I worked at UDC for 23 years, and I had to experience to work with all nationalities, Vietnamese, Jamaicans, and it was such an experience. I tried to give a birthday luncheon for many years so all of us could share together. And that was the most wonderful experience that I was thinking about today. And I remember that my many friends talked about the different foods they ate. And even my Vietnamese friends, they mentioned that Miss Hill, dog is good. And they ate big rats from the rice paddies. So I shared with them the pig feed, the squirrels, and rabbits in South Carolina. So it's been a great experience living.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds like a great exchange, as you mentioned, from everyone sharing their own perspectives and their
Yes.
traditions. Yeah, wonderful. Any other thoughts? I also included a picture. I accidentally put it up here earlier, but I included a little picture over here. I wanted to share a bit about one of my experiences. And this was, I think, oh gosh, like 4.5 years ago, maybe at this point. Um, I was able to travel with a group of students from my undergraduate institution, and I went to Panama, the eastern part of Panama, for a week, and we were there for it's what's called global medical brigades. So we were doing some medical care and learning about the clinics there and helping to volunteer in that capacity. But it was also a super great experience just to meet a lot of the local people and hear about their culture in terms of their music and the food, which was great. I got to try a lot of new things, or at least they were new to me. And unfortunately, I don't know Spanish. I took French in school, but it was nice to kind of hear the Spanish throughout the week as I was there and get to learn a bit from other people as well. So this was just one of the pictures from which I thought was really beautiful. And I wanted to include that as similar things to how other people had mentioned. It was just a nice way to get to experience things outside of what I'm used to and learn about new music and new food and new culture. So that was part of what inspired this as well. I also wanted us to really briefly touch on some history as well. So I, realized, oh, today's Cinco de Mayo. We can do a session that's related to that. And it was at that point that I realized that maybe I didn't even like fully know the history of Cinco de Mayo. It's something that I feel like we often celebrate. Some people mentioned, earlier how they're having their tacos or their margaritas or things like that, like today, yesterday, in celebration. But at least from what I have heard, I don't didn't often hear the history kind of behind the holiday. So I have picture up here from the Smithsonian of President Benito Juarez from Mexico. This is a portrait from 1865. And I was able to get a bit more information about Cinco de Mayo, the background of it from the Smithsonian as well. So I wanted to share that with us briefly so that we have better appreciation uh, for the holiday that's being celebrated. So the Smithsonian article talks about many people mistakenly think that Cinco de Mayo is Mexico's Independence Day, which actually on September 16th. Cinco de Mayo is truly a celebration of the Mexican victory over the French in the Battle of Puebla, which took place on May the 5th in 1862. So some background on that, in 1861, the Mexican president Benito Juarez, who you see in this photo here, he suspended payment of foreign debts. And France was ruled by Napoleon III at the time, and they invaded Mexico in response to it. And the Mexican soldiers were outnumbered, so they were outnumbered 2-1 by the French army, which was much better equipped. The Mexican army was able to defeat the French in the town of and the Mexican army boosted the victory, boosted the army's morale and the national pride. But it talks about how even though they were still able to win that one battle, the French still were able to capture Mexico City, and they installed Maximilian the First as the emperor of the region for a time. And then a couple years later, in 1866, there was some political and military assistance from the United States as well, and the Mexican army then was able to expel the French and dethrone Maximilian the First. And then at that point, the president that we see in the photo here came back into the presidency in June of 1867. And then he declared that May the 5th would be Cinco de Mayo, celebrating the anniversary of that battle. Mexican army won in Puebla against the French people. And so this is like I said, a portrait from the Smithsonian from the National Archives.
Thank
So
you
that's
for
just a little
that.
bit of our
Excuse me.
background. Yeah, anyone have any thoughts or reflections on that? Had you heard any parts of that before, or any additional history facts to add for us?
No, that was brand new for me. I always heard about this, but I didn't know. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I had
Any
heard
other? Yes, of course.
Cinco was celebrated more in the United States than in Mexico. I had heard that at one time. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was celebrated more over here than there.
That makes sense. I would believe that. Like I said, it feels like a pretty popular thing that we celebrate here, but maybe we
Yeah,
don't know the background of why.
yeah, we don't know the background.
Mhm. Yeah, I wonder if maybe I think their Independence Day, which I think it was in September, I think that's like more widely celebrated in
Mm.
Mexico from what I've seen. Like I said, that's just a little bit of our history background. And hopefully that was helpful to some others. It was helpful to me to see it too, and know a bit more as we go into the rest of our session. Um, I do have a poem that's related to Cinco de Mayo, but I think we'll actually skip it for now, and we'll come back if we have some time later. But I would like us to look at some art now. We always have some fun doing that. Um, And I was inspired as I was thinking about this session and what sorts of art that I had seen that was related. I started thinking about the Art Museum of the Americas. I'm not sure if anyone who's here today has been to the Art Museum of the Americas. It's here in DC. It's really like right off of Constitution Avenue near like the Constitution Gardens, the reflecting pool. So it's near all of the other monuments, but I feel like it's smaller museum and not a whole lot of people go there very often.
Hmm.
Yes, yeah, the Women in Arts Museum, yes, and the art gallery. Those are all great options, I would say, to check out if you're ever around any of them. All the other ones are that have been mentioned are Smithsonian museums, so those are all free and open. And then this museum, the Art Museum of the Americas, is also a free museum. They love to people come, you sign their guest book when you show. So uh, I was able to go and look around. I think it was a year or two ago at this point. Mm. And that's where the original picture, see if I can go back to it. Uh, this picture here in this circle with all the blue tiles and the really kind of cool artwork and big windows, that's one of the main kind of like architectural focuses of the museum. So that's in the Art Museum of the Americas as well. So I included that. I have an image that I will pull up for us in just a second. So this Art Museum of the Americas, just to give you a little more background, it's the oldest museum of modern and contemporary Latin American and Caribbean art in the United States. It's part of the Organization of American States, which is a public organization. It's an international group, and it aims to promote democracy, peace, justice, and solidarity among the 35 member countries. A lot of Latin and Caribbean cultures, countries that are represented. You can kind of already see our work here, but I'll put it up a little bit bigger so we can see it. This is called Man Contemplating the Moon by Rufino Tamayo, and it was painted in 1955. Would be curious to hear as we look at this, just what stands out to you? What are people's initial thoughts? And how do you see this image? What does it make you think of? Anyone can unmute and share. What are your initial thoughts about it? What stands out? The purple hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. What do we think? What do we make of the purple hands? That was the first thing that stood out to me too, actually. What do we think that means? Or does it mean anything?
Maybe they were squeezing grapes.
Mm, okay.
It could be in the winter
Maybe
they
wine.
wearing could be in the winter they wearing gloves.
Okay. Yeah. They're both good thoughts. Any other thoughts?
Halloween.
It's yeah, it does kind of remind me a bit of Halloween, I feel like.
I think perhaps he's could be emphasizing the hands as a way to say we can use them in creating
Mhm.
things and doing things. And we use our hands so much in everything. If you don't have your hands, you are limited to a degree in what you can do. So to me, it's like focusing on I have the use of my hands and I can use them to do or accomplish things.
Thank you. That's a great perspective.
Yeah, I sort
Other
of had
thoughts?
that perspective too, that your hands are important, maybe more important than other parts of the body. Although the shoulders are prominent too in this picture, but the hands are important because we use them for everything, and they might be more important than other parts of the body. I just a thought.
Yeah, thank you. And I like how you pointed out the shoulders too. I think it's also interesting that the same purple color is a little bit on the shoulders.
A little
It's like
bit,
kind of
yes, I
connecting
see
the
that.
two.
I see that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Other thoughts about the painting? Any other features of it that catch your eye or make you think?
I'll be sitting thinking,
Hmm.
thinking about a lot of things, being comfortable, quiet place.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
true. I agree with that too. But then when you look at it, it reminds you of Pablo Picasso pictures,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
paintings, and to me, so that kind of figures but abstract also. But it's interesting when you see the picture is the moon, I suppose, on the right hand side,
Hmm.
partially deflected there. I don't know what that could be. But
Yeah,
it's, yeah,
definitely.
I don't know. First I said the sun, but it could be the moon because it's just the way he's pictured it. I think if it was the sun, he would have been more prominent. I don't know. I'm
Mm.
thinking again. That could be dangerous.
No, I
Dangerous.
love it. I love it. That's great. I love what both of you said. And let's see, I think one of you had said, they just kind of gives the impression that they're sitting and they're thinking, which seems like that's based, at least based on the title of the painting, which is Man Contemplating the Moon. Then I think that gets the point across of what the artist was trying to demonstrate. So it kind of has that reflective um, mood to it. And yeah, we do see what I suppose is supposed to be the moon, at
Yeah.
least based on the description, at least. But I like your thought process too of
And
why we would
it
maybe
could
think
be
it's the moon instead of the
late in the
sun.
evening. It could be late in the evening, when the moon come out,
Hmm.
because you could see
Hmm.
on the side,
Yeah.
it looks dark back there, but when the moon's shining, it's yellow. Like, the moon's shining at night is
Hmm.
bright. So the
Yeah.
other part of the background looks dark. Like, could be dark outside, but up the part with the moon
Hmm.
that is shining bright.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Maybe those are the shadows that are behind the outside of the light of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Alex is doing some research on the back end too, it looks like, and he's shared some great things with us. So it looks like there were some at this time, 1955, there were some lunar eclipses that were happening. And then, obviously this was the time that space exploration was starting to be like a big thing as well. Maybe those also were some inspiration about why at this time the artist would want to paint this man who's contemplating the moon. So great background and some things to consider.
And I think he might be standing up. I don't think he's sitting down. Could be standing
Yeah,
up,
yeah, I agree. He kind of, mhm.
like standing
But
back.
I agree it's a little bit. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, the background is not quite clear that's behind him. So it looks like he's standing up, but yeah, everything is kind of in the shadows back there. And like Alex was saying too, we see some darkness and some shadows around the moon too, which also might point to that, the eclipses and the things that were happening. Also, someone had mentioned Picasso earlier as something that it reminds them of. Um, and that was one of the points that I gathered from the description of this work on the website as well as a lot of the art like critics think that um, the specifically the face of this person, this man that's here, and the way that it's very abstract. And a lot of people will kind of see it as maybe it's a mask that's over the face itself, and that's very like inspired by Picasso. Um, So it's a great observation. Anybody else have any thoughts about maybe the face and whether you think it's a mask or just an abstract figure of a face, or what do you make of it?
Look like a mask to me.
Mhm.
He looks like a robot.
It does, yeah. Yeah, I
Mm.
think the fact that it's very angular too is something that's a little bit different than what we expect of a human. It's a bit more, it looks a bit more mechanical, I would say, than what we typically would see in art. Great observation.
It reminds me of a pumpkin. The face does.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
A
Yes.
Halloween
Yeah, definitely.
carved pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
Can see
Yeah,
that.
carved face. Okay. And there probably pumpkins behind them. Or it could take place
With the like
in
the
the fall.
orange.
Yeah, it took place in the fall.
Could be. Any other thoughts, things that stand out to you, questions that come to mind when you look at the painting?
It looked like a wolf biting on the moon on the side.
Hmm.
It looks like
Okay.
a fox or a wolf that's hanging by his fangs at the top of the moon. He got it in his mouth.
Oh, okay. On the right, like on the right side of the moon, you're saying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep. He looked like he's hanging on. And his
Yeah.
4 feet, his 2 feet are up top, and his legs are at the bottom, and then his tail is coming down.
Yeah. Thank you. I can see that. That's similar to what we were doing last time too. Looking at
Mm-hmm.
maybe images or things that we see inside of other things.
Yeah.
Very neat. Yeah. I think- Okay. I think couple other thoughts. Um, and I like everyone's interpretations of what the hands being very prominent, what it might mean. And I think I like yours better than what my initial thought was, but my lingering question, I guess, or is it seems like the first thing that it kind of made me think of, I mean, although this is kind of more purple, if you'll describe it that way, but kind of with everything else being so white behind it, made me think of the phrase like that you were caught red-handed. And they're not, the hands are not bright red, which I think means something and says something because we do see this kind of more red or orange color that's behind this man. But was my first thought and wondering
Yeah. And it looks
if
like
it's more
a,
accusatory.
a pigeon or a bird over top of that fox that's hanging on the moon by its mouth.
Yeah, over top of it, you're saying?
Yeah, over top of it,
Mhm.
right in the corner. It looks like a
Okay.
pigeon or a bird.
Yeah, can see that. Okay.
It
Yeah.
looks it looks like a that bird that has a long neck and I can't think of the name of it, but that's what it reminded me of on the left side.
On the
Uh-huh.
left
Mm-hmm.
side? Yeah.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that looked like a goose.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Thank you.
Like a goose, yeah.
Thank
Hmm.
you, Bridget.
You're welcome, Ann.
That's what I was trying to think of.
That it looks like a goose.
It even,
Yeah, it
it even
does.
have an orange beak.
And you get that little tinge
That's
of
true.
one.
Mm.
Yeah, just a little tinge of it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Great. Well, those are all really wonderful observations and things that I think we take away from seeing this. Um, Really, the only other like background information or things that I saw when I was reading through about this painting were a little bit of what I touched on already with the idea of the potentially there being a mask on the man's face or it not being clear exactly like the features of the man was like I said thought to maybe be a reference to Picasso but was also thought to be possibly a reference to the artist and the idea of like cultural identity and mixing there and the fact that the artist so he was born in Mexico and then spent decent amounts of his life in New York City and in Paris and some other parts of the world as well. And so it was thought that maybe the fact that there's not like a clear face and there's not a clear identity to the person has something to do with the fact there's not a single identity of any of us, but not a single identity of the artist. And maybe he's feels different connections and different pieces of himself that belong to all of those different places and times where he lived and the experiences that he had there. I thought was an interesting kind of connection to draw. We'll move on from here. More. And next we'll focus on a piece of literature. This is a book that I read a couple years ago. What I'm not sure if anyone else has had the pleasure to read it, but I really enjoyed it. Quite an odd book, I guess is how I would put it. But that was the way it was meant to be, I think. Has anyone read or heard of 100 Years of Solitude before?
Nope.
No, nah, and I'm surprised I haven't.
No, I haven't heard that one.
Mhm.
Great. Well, I'm glad I could find something new. I would recommend if you find a copy to read it. And I was going to start us out by just reading the very beginning of chapter one, just a little paragraph of it to give you a taste of what it's like. Sometimes I like to do that when I go to bookstores, just open to the first page and give it a couple of minutes and see what it makes me think of and where it takes me, whether it's something I would want to read. So while I'm reading this, I'm going to put up an illustration as well that was done by an artist that I have listed here, which this illustration is supposed to kind of give you an idea of what the book is about and some of the themes that come up within the book. Kind of take a look at that as I'm reading the initial part of this as well. So this is, as I mentioned, it's 100 Years of Solitude. It was written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I'll give some more information about afterwards. But so chapter one starts by saying, many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. At that time, Macondo was a village of 20 adobe houses built on the bank of a river of clear water, ran along a bed of polished stones, which were white and enormous, like prehistoric eggs. The world was so recent that many things lacked names, and in order to indicate them, it was necessary to point. Each year during the month of March, a family of ragged gypsies would set up their tents near the village, and with a great uproar of pipes and kettle drums, they would display new inventions. First, they brought the magnet. heavy gypsy with an untamed beard and sparrow hands, who introduced himself as Melquiades, put on a bold public demonstration of what he himself called the eighth wonder of the learned alchemists of Macedonia. He went from house to house, dragging two metal ingots, and everyone was amazed to see pots, pans, tongs, and braziers tumble down from their places, and beams crack from the desperation of nails and screws trying to emerge. And even objects that had been lost for a long time appeared from where they had been searched for most, and went dragging along the turbulent confusion behind Melchiades' magic iron. Things have a life of their own, the gypsy proclaimed with a harsh accent. It's simply a matter of waking up their souls. The first part of this book starts us off. As I mentioned, this is kind of an illustration showing some of the
Hello?
themes, which maybe you were able to pick up on
Hello?
a couple of them as I was reading. Yes, did
Who?
anyone have a comment?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
I did. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a worse headache, and I took some medicine. I don't know what is going on in my
Let's see
head.
if
Well,
I
first of
can.
all, I'm missing medicine. I just finished arguing with my new insurance company
I'll
that
ask.
insists on
Sorry,
mailing
guys.
my
You all,
important.
I'll ask you to mute. There we go. Okay.
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that, you all. But give a little bit of background on the book. As I mentioned, the author is Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He was born in Colombia in 1928, but he spent a lot of his life in Mexico and in Europe as well. And this book is called 100 Years of Solitude. It was written in 1967,
Mhm.
and it's considered to be one of his greatest works. And it follows the story of one family. So we heard about one of the members of the family, uh, and it follows them through generations. And it starts when the patriarch of this Buendia family owns this town, Macondo, which is by the river, as we can see in this picture. I found an article or blog post that did a really wonderful job and gave a very thoughtful analysis of kind of the different themes that we see throughout the novel. It was written by Saeed Jalili. So um, I wanted to kind of pull from a couple of those parts, and there's some themes of memory and time uh, that I think are really fruitful for discussion and really relevant to today as well. And so, just to pull a couple of things from that article, it talks about, oh, this is a book or story that operates on many levels. So, it's an allegory of human history and nature, it's a commentary on Latin American politics, and it's a meditation on memory, time, and destiny. And talks about the rise and fall of this town. And the very title itself, which is called 100 Years of Solitude, shows you that solitude is going to be one of the big kind of central themes of the book. And nearly every kind of member of this family is afflicted by some form of isolation or alienation or like an inner struggle that they have. Yet, in their longings, these generations thing between memory and oblivion. And as we see with the theme of memory, the story starts with a memory. It told us in the very first sentence that the colonel was remembering when his father took him to see this new discovery of, and he remembers that many years later. So time and destiny are also really central themes, and time is displayed as something that's not linear, moving from one place to another place, but time is very cyclical and recursive and unstable. And the same names keep showing up in the family over and over again. Different fates of different people echo each other and come full circle. And so the end of the little article that I was reading, I think sums it up very nicely. And it says, if solitude is inevitable, then memory, imagination, and storytelling are the forces that resist it. Reading 100 Years of Solitude is to revel in the absurdity and the ecstasy of life. And one could say that the novel, like Melquiades' manuscript, tries to be the theme, or sorry, tries to be the memory of the universe. And even as we have this big theme of memory, and uh, there also is, individual moments and fragments of time throughout. So hopefully, some of those themes that I read about in either the beginning where we heard the first paragraph of the book or in this little synopsis of kind of what it's about gave you a bit of insight into why we might see some of those things represented in this illustration. Does anybody see anything in the illustration that stands out to them or you think connects or reminds you of something that I read from the beginning of the book or something that's a theme of the book? Any thoughts about
Well, when you look at the clock there, or the timepiece rather, it's a reminder of the time passing. As you say, it starts with him reminiscing about what had happened long ago. He's in front of a firing squad. Ooh, that's not good. And also, even though you see different people there, they seem to be in solitude because they're not looking at each other. It's like they are concerned with what's going on with themselves. And to me, it's like a battle he's losing, because in solitude you might want solitude, but living in the world, you can't have complete solitude because you cannot exist in complete solitude. So that's what he was looking for, that town that he created in the beginning, as if no one else can get in. That's not going to remain that way if it's going to thrive.
Yeah, thank you for that. A great connection to several of the main themes. I like what you said about all of the people too who are they're sitting pretty close together. They're all up there in that tree, but they all sort of look like they're in their own worlds, which is an interesting observation. Anyone else have anything to add?
I'll see if I can explain what I'm thinking. Looking at first of all, I was looking at the timepiece, and the bird has it in its mouth. And a lot of times we refer to how time flies or how it passes by. And with him speaking of the solitude part of it, the tree reminds me that we are all like come from a same center point, but yet and still we are separate. We don't gel and come together, where we can be there for each other. We like have our own separate way or separate life instead of us just being one, like one big family. You say a family tree, will all come together. It's the separation is there. I see that instead of the closeness that they should have. I don't know whether that makes sense or not.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great thought as well about, like you said, even like the family tree too, and how you think about everything being connected and how it can work well if it's all um, connected and people are working together. But sometimes we see separation as well, like you. And I think that that's an interesting point too. I would love to think about that more as well as what it means that the bird is the one that's kind of holding and suspending the timepiece, the clock. That's a very interesting thought. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Other thoughts that people have? Are any ways that you think it connects to the piece of the novel that I read, or has anyone ever read anything similar? This is just one example of like a pretty well-known work that was, originally in Spanish and then translated to English. But anyone ever read anything else that reminds you of this one?
I was looking at the ant on the leaf there, the significance of that. I was wondering what
Mm,
part does that play? You know, he's separate.
yeah.
He's separated from the uh, ark or whatever that is by water. I don't. It's really kind of hard to put it together. But I'm noticing the separation. That's what I'm looking so much at, the separation and not the togetherness that they should have. So,
Mhm. Yeah, that's a wonderful point as well. I do think, if I'm remembering correctly, there's some portion of the story that has something to do with like fire ants specifically. I can't remember where that comes in or what they
mhm,
mean necessarily, but I think that is why the fire ant is there. But
mhm,
that is a very good point that you make too about it being so like separated by even by this
mhm,
river or stream or whatever this is
mhm.
from the rest of what's going on. Mhm.
I see the man tied to the bottom of the tree. The
Mm,
death line
mhm,
toward
Mhm.
him. And
Yeah.
um, that can have something to do with all the people above him.
Mhm.
mhm,
It could be his tree of life, how they not relating to each other.
Mhm.
Mhm.
mhm. I didn't realize that was water. Now that you say that's water,
Mhm.
Gracie,
Mhm.
now that I know it's water, well, they're on the tree to, you know, to keep from falling into the water.
But
Mhm.
they're on the boat. The tree is floating on the boat.
There's roots surrounding that boat. It's tight.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
the tree is in the boat. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
See
yeah.
the roots of the tree around
Oh,
the
around the roots of the tree.
root,
I see. I
yeah,
see.
growing into the little grass, and then it's touching the water
Yeah,
somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And there's a man that's tied to the tree at the
Mhm.
bottom,
Mhm.
at the root of the tree.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And
With that
then
white
there,
rope. Is that the white
then
rope?
there's yeah.
Yep.
Then there's death flying down to tell him that he's dying, but as he's dying, he's got people that have depended upon his life, all the way up from the tree of life up to the baby at the top.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great observation. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Um, mhm. And yeah, it's been a while since I read this as well. I can't remember exactly which family member that was that was tied up to the tree, but I think that's a great like interpretation too, that all the rest of the family is there kind of
Mhm.
coming from this tree, from these roots that are there.
Mhm.
And I do think even though, this tree is in the boat, and the people are kind of up in the tree, it also does, it seems like um, somewhat contradictory, I guess, is my thought process of how they're seems like they're on a boat, but also as you all were mentioning, the roots of the tree are kind of like surrounding the boat, and it seems like there's some green grass even that's like
Mhm.
around the boat. And so there's some, are we moving forward or are we kind of stuck in the same place? Are we staying still? Is the boat supposed to just try and keep them afloat, or is it a way for them to progress forward through time? I guess an interesting
Now I'll say
thing to
this.
think about too.
I don't know whether anybody else thinks like this, but I was thinking, remember Nora when he put all of the different species and different people
Mm,
on the boat, and they had to come back and start life all over again. How
Oh yeah.
the lives, came about, but you see what I don't know how to put it in words, but you might see the thought to say.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's a very good thought too. Sorry, I'm gonna make sure. There we go. No, I love that thought. That it kind of is reminiscent of Noah's Ark, and I think
Mhm.
you could read some other parts of it as reminiscent
Mhm.
too, with like they have the big mountains that are behind. You could think about like
Mhm.
the olive branch on the top of the mountain, and then if we want
Mhm.
to make this parrot the the dove that that was sent
Yeah.
out, that
Mhm.
would be a fun comparison too. So yeah, there's a lot of, I think we see overlap in these similar things. I had a couple of other questions written down. I think you all have addressed a lot of them already, but let's see. Oh, one of the kind of themes of, as I titled this, magical memory, and one of the reasons for that is because this book is, as you can maybe gather from the paragraph that I read and from the this little illustration too, although it's not done by the author of the book, but it's meant to represent the kind of themes of the book. It's quite, like I said, quite odd, quite like magical. There's a lot of like themes of I guess, yeah, what you would describe as magical realism, like things that wouldn't necessarily happen in real life, but it's still set in
Mhm.
like a time and a setting that's supposed to look like real life. And I think one of the examples that we see of that, and kind of how the people in the book see things as being magical, would be with a big, like, lengthy description that it gave about when they brought in the magnet, and that was like a brand new invention that they had never seen before,
Mhm.
and they were so like mesmerized with the magnet in the ways that it was drawing everything to it. And obviously, at
Mhm.
that point, and I think we see that a lot in like all the stories of like the really early scientific discoveries. Even if you want to think about like gravity with, what was it, Newton and Hubble, we didn't know science behind, or like the small details behind why the things were happening. And so it almost seemed magical that all of the nails and everything else was being drawn to the magnet. Um, and
Yeah.
so my question kind of from that was, how do we like see that in our own lives, and how do we help to like conceptualize and make sense of these like magical things, the things that maybe we don't know how they happen, but we observe them. I think that they're magical. Any thoughts on that?
Kind of deep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
very deep.
deep, deep, deep. Gotta put a lot into to put it into words.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a deep thought, and I don't think that there's not one right answer or one right
Mhm.
example. I think we all see that all the time in our own ways of things that we don't quite know or understand, but how we help to conceptualize them. Just kind of a couple of minutes left, and I wanted to make sure that I get to this last part too. It was, I can't remember who it was that brought up the point, but hopefully you'll know it when you see it. It was a really a great connection to this last little reflection and quote that I wanted to share. And again, unfortunately, I think we chatted too much. We won't have too much time to really be able to like share our writings or our full thoughts. Hopefully, you'll be able to think about this on your own as well. When I was looking into the book a little bit more and some things that were being written about it, I found the Nobel Prize speech that the author gave when he accepted the prize in this was December of 1982. And the way that he ended his speech, I thought was really inspirational and would be a nice thing for us all to reflect on. And a couple of you have already brought up points that I think really fit with it. So I wanted to make sure that we got to it. At the very end of his speech, he says, on a day like today, my master William Faulkner said, I decline to accept the end of man. Faced with this awesome reality that we must seemed a mere utopia through all of human time, we, the inventors of tales, who will believe anything, feel entitled to believe that it is not yet too late to engage in the creation of the opposite utopia. A new and sweeping utopia of life, where no one will be able to decide for others how they die, where love will prove true and happiness be possible, and where the race condemned to 100 years of solitude will have at last and forever a second opportunity on earth. I thought that was a nice way to wrap that up. Like I said, a
Mm-hmm.
good inspiration to us. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make anyone think of any like final thoughts or reflections, things that inspires you to think about?
Well, based on what I was saying, the part where he's saying, where no one will be able to decide for others how they die, where love will prove true and happiness be possible, and where the race is condemned to 100 years of solitude will have at least a second opportunity on earth. And like I said, they can bridge that gap of the separation, come together, they can do away with the solitude and a lot of the stuff that comes with it because they'll be there for each other and with each other.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry, I think you're muted.
Oh, he's
There
also
you are.
saying that, we are the teller of tales, and
Hmm.
we can invent anything. We can make it utopia. We can make it anything we want to make it, and you're entitled to believe what you want to believe, and he's entitled to write it or paint it or whatever, uh, in a happy way where you'll have a second opportunity at life, and man will never die. And that's the way I see it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's part of like us, we the inventors of tales, and then as you were saying, we see as well with the like coming together and and sharing together. Those are some of the things that I really love that we get to do here as well. That we get to uh hear the stories of one another and come together in that way as we look at all these pieces of artwork and think about the stories and how they connect us through time. So you all see that in these different ways as well, and that is cool and beneficial for you. Um, Any other final things? I know Alex um, is will be having us wrap things up here in the next couple of minutes. I want to respect everybody's time too, but any other final thoughts we have for today? And this was just a little reflection activity. You can think about this on your own as well. But we talked about it a little bit as a group. But if you were writing a speech like this, or if you were reflecting on what we talked about, what would your message be? I think we kind of already have started to think about that. I encourage you to continue to as well. Oops. Our next session is June 2nd, if I did the calendar correctly. And thank you all for coming along on the journey today. Happy Cinco de Mayo again, and hopefully enjoyed taking a step back from the full celebration mode to learn a little bit more about the background and the history, and to be able to think and reflect on how we connect to one another and how we share these memories and these thoughts, um, and
Oh, thank you
consider
for
as
the
well.
amazing session, Hannah. I learned so much.
Yeah, it's nice.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Thank
you.
you,
Let's all say
everybody.
thank you to Hannah for a wonderful
Thank
Day
you.
Thank
Mayo session
you.
Thank
today.
you.
Right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Hannah.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Hannah. Hope to see you
Thank
tomorrow
Thank
if
you,
you
Hannah.
can.
Sharing
You,
this.
Hannah.
Yes. You all
Thank
enjoy
you,
your Mother's Day
Hannah.
celebration as
Thank
well.
you very
Bye,
much.
Anna.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Hannah.
Have a good day.